what I wanted to talk to you about next is this, and then we'll jump into our time of prayer. There's an exchange. At one point, there's an exchange between J.D. Vance and President Zelenskyy, and it's a telling statement. J.D. Vance says something that's incredibly important for us today. Again, an incredibly important thing for us to learn or relearn or choose to apply in our lives. All right, a very, very important thing. Zelenskyy and him are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think Trump interjects a couple of times. They go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then finally, J.D. Vance says, have you said thank you even once? So this is from CBC. The meeting between the two men took a particular turn on the topic of whether Zelenskyy has shown enough gratitude to the United States for its support in the war. At one point, a railing Trump gave Zelenskyy an ultimatum on a peace agreement: make a deal or we're out. Vance, sitting opposite the men, pointed at the Ukrainian president and told him he should be grateful. Have you said thank you once in this entire meeting? Have you said thank you? Offer some words of appreciation for the USA and the president who's trying to save your country, Vance said loudly. Why is this important? I mean, all of us have had those moments, right? We've all had those moments where we just need somebody to say thank you. For God's sakes, I need somebody to say thank you for what I've done. I just need to hear a little bit of appreciation. I've done everything I possibly can for as long as I possibly can, and it seems to me that everybody's just taking it for granted. Nobody's showing me any kind of appreciation whatsoever. But is that why we do the right thing? Is that why we do a thing? Is that why we do something for another person? Is that why we do something for another group? Is that why we do something nice for anybody? Is that why we do something nice for another country? Is that why we provide for people? The answer, of course, is no. It's not why we... I can still feel it. Like I can still feel like I just need you to say thank you. But that's not why we do it. It's not why we do it. It's not why we're supposed to do it. See, if we're doing the thing to hear the appreciation, then we're not actually, it's not a gift, right? We're not doing anybody a favor because they're paying us back. They're paying us with their thanks. The quid pro quo, I do this and then you say thank you. Oh, so you're not really doing it for me. You're doing it for you because you want to hear thank you. Well, no, I'm doing it, and you're supposed to say thank you. Well, I get to choose whether or not I'm going to say thank you, and I might say thank you, and I might not. I personally, I always try to say thank you for as many different things as I possibly can. But there are times that I forget, or there's times where I don't have the opportunity because maybe somebody leaves or whatever the case might be. But the bottom line is, we don't do the good thing. We don't do the nice thing. We don't provide for somebody. We don't give to another. We don't show charity. We don't show mercy. We don't show forgiveness. We don't do anything for another person because we want them, because we need to hear from them, thank you. Though, I'm going to say it still, there are times that we really, really want it. Those moments, though, if you think about those moments, if you have them like I do, and I do, they do hit me honestly, like every year or so, every 8-9 months or so. And every time that need to hear thank you, that need to hear I'm grateful, that need to hear appreciation, every time that comes over me, I'm always at a low point emotionally. I'm always in a place where I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling inadequate, I'm feeling empty, I'm feeling drained, I'm feeling like I have nothing left to give. But I'm still in that place where I'm still doing, because I still have to do. Every time I feel like the world is ungrateful, every time I feel like the world is unappreciative, it's because of where I am. It has nothing to do nothing to do with the world around me. It has nothing to do with how grateful they are, how much they appreciate me. It has nothing to do with, it doesn't even have anything to do with why I do the things that I do. It's always because I'm just beaten up. I'm just done, and I got nothing left. Now, in that instance yesterday, that incident at the Oval Office on Friday, Vance isn't saying you owe me thanks. He's saying you owe Trump thanks. And maybe Vance knows that Donald Trump's in a really, really dark place. That Trump, maybe he's confiding in him, saying, JD, nobody's saying thank you, right? We're doing all this good work, and I'm not getting a thank you. I'm not getting appreciation. I'm not, whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, we don't do the things we do. We don't do the things we do because we need to be thanked. Jesus tells us, again, I think we talked about it the other day, didn't we? Jesus tells us, go and do the things, go and do good things, but not for worldly reasons. Go and do good things because you're supposed to do good things. Go and do good things because you're building up for yourself treasures in heaven. Go and do good things because it's pleasing to God, not pleasing to the people around you. No, I read a psychologist, an article written by a psychologist today. He might be a psychiatrist, but I think it's a psychologist. It's psych something. Anyhow, he talked about why we need that appreciation. Now, for him, it wasn't about being in a place where you're feeling emotionally low, though I think it does apply. He was talking about it from an ego perspective. And what he said is that when we need to hear people say thank you, it's often because we're looking for their appreciation. We're looking for their acceptance. We're looking for their approval. And that speaks to our insecurity. Now, I would argue that when you're in a really, really low emotional place, you can feel really, really insecure. You can feel alone, and you can feel tired. But you and I, like everybody, we're called to provide for others. We're called to provide for others when we're at our best, and we're called to provide for others when we're at our worst. We're called to provide for people when we're filled and we're ready to go and fired up, and we're called to provide for people when we got nothing left in the tank. The mission is always the same. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is, if you've ever felt this way, like I have, is to take care of yourself emotionally. Take a break. Take a rest. Take a day off. Take time to yourself. Get out there and smell the sage. Right? Get out there and smell the sweet grass. Get out there, do your meditation, light your incense, listen to your music. Read your Bible, pray, meditate, walk out among the trees, the pines and the spruce. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, then you're much less likely to find yourself in the places where I tend to find myself from time to time, which is working on an empty tank, right? Driving 1,000 miles with nothing but vapors in the tank. If we take care of ourselves, we find ourselves in a position where we don't feel those negative thoughts towards others. We don't feel those that we don't feel unappreciated. We don't feel like the world is ungrateful, right? We don't feel like the world doesn't care about how we've helped. And we just don't, because it doesn't bother us. We have the emotional capacity to deal with it. When we take care of ourselves and we have that emotional capacity, we're much better equipped to live the kind of life that Jesus calls us to live. I mean, Jesus took time off, but if we take care of ourselves, we're much better equipped to serve. We're much better equipped to serve. And I would also say eating the right foods helps with that. Drinking water, being hydrated, making sure that you are hydrated for whatever comes up that day is important. At the end of the day, Vance saying what he said to Zelenskyy about his need to be appreciative. And for the record, Zelenskyy has said thank you a gazillion times. He said thank you to the office of the president. He said thank you to the people who were in that room that day. He said thank you to the people from the well of Congress. He has said thank you to people from the interview stage at Fox News. He has said thank you over and over and over again, long before this moment as well. He's continued, and even I remember there was a quote today. It was beautiful. He said, "I thank the American people for their support." Right? All American people for their support. For whatever reason, it wasn't enough. He didn't say thank you enough. Or perhaps he just didn't say thank you to the person who needed to hear it most. The person who's feeling a little insecure. The person who's feeling the need for the approval of others. Maybe he just didn't say it enough for that one person to be satisfied. Whatever the case is, he has said it. He is appreciative. The Ukrainian people are appreciative. The Ukrainians that I know here in Halifax who are refugees, who have been forced from their homes, who are living and working here in Canada, they are incredibly appreciative. My guess is Zelenskyy is beyond himself with gratitude. I would be. But again, for you and I, we don't do these things. We don't do these things for thanks. We don't do these things. We don't do these things so that people will put us up on a pedestal. People will put a spotlight on us and tell us how wonderful we are and how great we are and how awesome we are and how our lives just wouldn't be the same without them. That's not why we do it. Right? We do it because it's the right thing. We do it because it's the life we've chosen. We do it because providing for others, we build up treasures for ourselves in heaven. Providing for others leads to God's glory and leads to God's happiness. Ultimately God's gratitude for all that we've given. I don't need you to say thank you. I don't need the people around me to say thank you. I don't do this for them. I do this for the one who's given me everything. Amen.